Buy Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, a missed chance. Easter Commission uncovers details of CID officers' release of Army Mohideen after questioning despite arrest warrant. Threats won't frighten us. Defense Secretary dismisses underworld threats and promises to forge ahead with gangland crackdown. Disaster averted. Initial shock turns to relief as quick-acting security forces apprehend COVID-19 escapee from infectious diseases hospital. Reaching out, Sri Lankan government seeks Indian intervention to reschedule outstanding debts repayments. All this and much more coming up on this Friday, the 24th of July 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanila Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Police media spokesperson SP Jalia Senaratna says that according to reports received by intelligence services, by far there is no threat of the virus spreading within the city of Colombo following the incident today with regard to a COVID-19 patient escaping from the infectious diseases hospital. He added that investigations are being carried out to determine the locations to which the escapee had travelled to.
Mohammed Qasim Mohammad Nazim, a resident of Valimalar in Trincomalee, was reported to have escaped from the infectious diseases hospital at 2 a.m. this morning. The patient in question was said to be a drug addict who had been placed at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre on the 12th of May on court orders. After PCR test results showed that he was COVID-19 positive, Mohammed Qasim was transferred to the Valikanda Base Hospital on the 9th of July. Commissioner General of Rehabilitation, Major General Darshana Hettiarachchi said that the patient in question, who had been suffering from other illnesses, was then transferred to the Infectious Diseases Hospital in Angoda on the 12th of July. Accordingly, the security forces launched operations in the early hours of this morning to quickly locate and isolate the escapee. Following this, Mohammed Qasim Mohammad Nazim was taken into custody by health officials aided by security forces at around 10 a.m. near the outpatient department of the Colombo National Hospital. After fleeing the hospital, Mohammed Qasim had first travelled to Fort and then taken a three-wheeler to the Colombo National Hospital. On arrival, he had disembarked from the three-wheeler and told the hospital employee that he was the person who had escaped from the IDH hospital. However, this afternoon, Mohammed Qasim was again taken to the IDH hospital and the unsuspecting three-wheeler driver to the Kandakadu quarantine centre.
පැය කිහිපයක් ඇතුළතදී මේ පුද්ගලයා රෝහලෙන් පලා ගිය පුද්ගලයා බවට නිශ්චිතව තහවුරු කර ගැනීමටත් ඉන් අනතුරුව එම පුද්ගලයා සෞඛ්‍ය ආරක්ෂිතව නැවත රෝහල වෙත යොමු කිරීමටත් කටයුතු කිරීමට හැකියාව ලැබුණා. ඔහු පලා ගොස් තිබුණේ රෝහලේ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයට අසු නොවන ආකාරයට ජනේලයකින් පැන ගොස් නැවත ඔහු රෝහලේ තාපයෙන් පැන ගොස් තිබෙන බව තමයි මේ වෙන විට අනාවරණය කරගෙන තිබෙන්නේ. මේ රෝගියා මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය වලට ඇබ්බැහි වූ තැනැත්තෙක්. ඔහුගේ මේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය වලට තියෙන ඇබ්බැහියත් එක්ක තමයි අපි විශ්වාස කරන්නේ මොහු මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය සොයා යන්නට ඇති කියලා. අනුගමනය කළ යුතු සෞඛ්‍ය ආරක්ෂකකම රෝහල් කාර්ය මණ්ඩලය විසින් යහුසුලුව අනුගමනය කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා රෝහල තුළට මේ රෝගය ව්‍යාප්ත වීමේ අවදානමක් කිසිසේත්ම නැහැ. දැනට මේ පුද්ගලයා ගමන් කළ ස්ථාන සහ ගමන් කළ මාධ්‍යයන් මොනවාද කියන කාරණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් මෙහෙයුමක් ද වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම බුද්ධ්‍යංශ විසින් වගේම ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසියේ විමර්ශන කණ්ඩායම් මේ තොරතුරු දැනට සොයාගනිමින් පවතිනවා. දැනට සොයාගෙන තිබෙන තොරතුරු අනුව සමාජය තුළට කොරෝනා හෙවත් COVID-19 වෛරසය නැවත ව්‍යාප්ත වීමේ අවදානමක් පිළිබඳව කිසිම තොරතුරක් වාර්තා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම දැනට මෙම සිදුවීම නිසා කොළඹ නගරය තුළ කොරෝනා ව්‍යාප්ත වීමේ අවදානමක් නැති බව සෞඛ්‍යංශින් සහ හමුදා සහ රාජ්‍ය බුද්ධි සේවයේ උතුරු ඔස්සේ විට වාර්තා වෙමින් තියෙනවා.
In the meantime, a total of 11 COVID-19 patients were reported today, taking the country's overall active cases to 659. 9 out of the 11 are inmates at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre, while the remaining 2 patients are associates of an infected inmate. Meanwhile, with 17 persons recovering from the COVID-19 virus within the last 24-hour cycle, the overall number of COVID-19 recoveries rose to 2,094. In a separate development, the National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19 reported a total of 573 patients from the Kandakadu cluster.
COVID-19 රෝගය ලංකාව තුළ පැතිරවීම වැළැක්වීම සඳහා රජයක් විදියට අප සියලු පියවර රැගෙන තිබෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ සඳහා වන PCR පරීක්ෂණ 1,50,000ක් පමණ අද දින වෙන විට සිදු කර අවසන්. කන්දකාඩු පුනරුත්ථාපන කඳවුර ආශ්‍රිත PCR පරීක්ෂණ 8,200ක් පමණ මේ වන විට සිදු කර තිබෙනවා.
During the hearing of a testimony by former CID inspector involved in operations to arrest Easter attack terrorist Ami Mohideen following the Aliyar Junction clash, the Presidential Commission was told how the suspect was questioned and yet let off as CID investigators determined him to be no threat at the time. This was done despite a warrant being issued for his arrest, leading the Commission to question if the entire attack could have been averted if sleuths at the time stuck to CID operational norms and arrested him then and there.
The Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating the Easter Sunday attacks heard evidence from Police Inspector Dias Padmasiri, who went in search of National Tawhid Jamaat member Ami Mohideen in Pasiguda on 7th of March 2019. The witness told the Commission that he, along with the team including Police Sergeant Nandalal, had travelled to Pasiguda on the instructions of a senior state intelligence official. The witness revealed that instructions were provided via telephone by the state intelligence official, who informed him that a suspect named Ami Mohideen was hiding out at a coconut estate on the coastline in Pasiguda and was providing arms training to groups at the property. The intelligence official also informed Inspector Padmasiri that a warrant had been obtained for his arrest already, which the team was expected to carry out. The suspect's exact location was also communicated to the police team at the time. The witness stated that on arriving at the location, the team only found an elderly Muslim duo living at the property, with Ami Mohideen nowhere to be seen. However, through questioning the duo, the team was able to confirm that the suspect was in fact residing at the location, after which the couple was instructed to telephone Ami Mohideen and get him to come to the location. When the suspect arrived, the team proceeded to question him on his links to Zahran Hashim. The Commission then asked the witness why the suspect was not arrested at that moment. The witness responded that he didn't arrest the suspect, as no suspicions were aroused after searching the location and questioning him. The Commission then inquired from the witness as to why the team failed to detain the suspect for further questioning if initial probes failed to uncover facts, as was the standard operational procedure of the Criminal Investigation Department in most other cases. The witness replied that even though that was the normal procedure by the department, in this instance he refrained from doing so. When asked whether he was aware of a warrant being issued for the suspect's arrest in connection with the Aliyar Junction clash, the witness replied that although he was aware of it, he decided not to arrest him as he saw no reasonable suspicion to do so. The Commission then asked him if he had at least informed the Katangudi police station on locating the suspect. The witness responded that he did not give it much thought at the time. The witness was then asked if failure to arrest the suspect despite a warrant being issued was an illegal act. To this, the witness told the Commission that due to his workload being heavy at the time, he was unable to get even a copy of the warrant brought to the location and insisted that he did not arrest the suspect due to a lack of sufficient evidence. Further, when asked whether arresting the suspect at the time would have in some way prevented the attack, the witness replied that he wasn't sure of it and that he was not qualified to comment on such a claim.
The writ petition filed by former Superintendent of the Negombo Prison, Anuruddha Sampayo, seeking an injunction order preventing his arrest has been postponed to Monday the 27th for consideration. Now 2 days have passed since an arrest warrant was issued against Anuruddha Sampayo and a group of officers, but they are yet to be arrested. When the case was taken up for hearing by the Court of Appeal, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, Deputy Solicitor General Milinda Gunathilaka said the writ petition filed by former Superintendent of the Negombo Prison, Anuruddha Sampayo, seeking to prevent his arrest, should be dismissed without being taken into consideration. Deputy Solicitor General Gunathilaka added that although the petitioner sought the prevention of his arrest, a copy of the magistrate's warrant had not been submitted along with the case file. Therefore, pointing out that the court is unable to consider the petition, the Deputy Solicitor General highlighted that the petitioner has made a number of false submissions. The judge bench pointed out that it will only be apt if a new petition is submitted instead of the revised petition. Appearing on behalf of the former Superintendent of the Negombo Prison, President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya pleaded with the court to issue an interim order preventing the implementation of the arrest warrant. However, the Deputy Solicitor General objected to the request, while the bench too did not respond to the plea. Accordingly, the hearing of the petition was postponed until Monday the 27th. Meanwhile, on the 22nd, Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Puris informed the Negombo Magistrates Court that the refrigerator uncovered within the cell of prison inmate Austin had been purchased. The Deputy Solicitor General said that the former Superintendent of the Negombo Prison had attempted to indicate that the refrigerator was a donation from a hotel owner. Deputy Solicitor General Piri stated that Anuruddha Sampayo had exerted pressure on low-ranking officials to prepare fraudulent documents to give the impression that the refrigerator was donated by a hotel owner to stock the medicines of inmates suffering from diabetes. He said that Austin, who is a notorious criminal, had paid for the purchase of the refrigerator on the 8th using the Easy Cash service. The Deputy Solicitor General noted that the individual who purchased the refrigerator from an electronic goods outlet had provided a statement to the CID on how the transaction took place. Deputy Solicitor General Dileepa Puris also pointed out to the court that items that are not used by ordinary inmates, including refrigerators, are kept in prisons without the approval of the Commissioner of Prisons. The Deputy Solicitor General informed court that warrants for the arrest of the 4 suspects, including Anuruddha Sampayo, were requested to be issued due to their alleged direct or indirect involvement in profiting and collecting illegal property through acts of corruption within the Negombo Prison. Meanwhile, speaking to media in Anuradhapura today, the Secretary of Defence Kamal Gunaratne stated that the operation to eradicate the underworld will not be stopped just because of threats issued by various underworld figures.
මේ රටේ අවුරුදු 30ක යුද්ධයක් තිබුණා. ඒ අවුරුදු 30ක යුද්ධ කාලේ මුල ඉඳන් අගටම හිටපු නිලධාරියෙක් මම. ඒ වගේම මේ හමුදාපතිතුමාත් මුල ඉඳන් අගටම හිටියා. අපිට ජීවිත තර්ජන එල්ලුනේ අද ඊයේ නෙමෙයි. අමුත් එහෙම කියලා අපි අපේ රාජකාරිය නවත්තලා නැහැ. අපි ඒ ත්‍රස්තවාදයේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම තුරන් කළා. ඒ වගේ ඔය මොන පාතාල නායකයා ජීවිත තර්ජන එල්ල කළත් අපි මේ පටන් ගත්ත ගමන නවත්තන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඉස්සරහට ඒ ගමන ගෙනහිල්ලා අපේ රටේ ජනතාවට නිදහසේ ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන් පරිසරයක් ඇති කරනවා, සමාජයක් ඇති කරනවා අපේ අනාගත පරපුර මේ කුඩු වලින් පාතාලෙන් අපි බේර ගන්නවා. පාතාලයක් ඇති වෙන්න හේතුව තමයි නීතිය හරියට ක්‍රියාත්මක නොවීම. ඉතින් පහුගිය කාලේ ගිය විදියට තව අවුරුදු 4-5ක් ගියා නම් අපේ රටේ කිසිම මිනිස්සෙකුට විශේෂයෙන්ම කාන්තාවකට පාරේ බහැලා යන්න පුළුවන් තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් අපි මේ තත්ත්වය නැති කරනවා. අපි මේ රටේ පාතාලය තුරන් කරනවා.
Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and British Minister for International Trade Ranil Jayawardena held a teleconference yesterday where the furthering of bilateral trade, investment and expansion in cooperation was the key topic of discussion. According to the Ministry of Foreign Relations, the two ministers agreed on the need for close cooperation to address the challenges facing bilateral trade and investment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
In the first official interaction between the two ministers, Minister of Foreign Relations Dinesh Gunawardena and the United Kingdom's Minister for International Trade Ranil Jayawardena discussed stepping up bilateral trade and investment and expanding the areas of cooperation during a teleconference yesterday. Both ministers welcomed further consolidating the long-standing bilateral engagement through increased trade, security, research and training, science and technology and cultural cooperation, including people-to-people contacts. In particular, the two ministers agreed on the need for close cooperation to address the challenges facing bilateral trade and investment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Both parties recognize the importance of keeping supply chains moving and opening travel and tourism sectors to address pressing economic issues. Further, opportunities for new export products to the UK market from Sri Lanka were also discussed. Recalling the shared values and interests between the UK and Sri Lanka as members of the Commonwealth, Minister Gunawardena reaffirmed Sri Lanka's commitment to continue its active participation in the organisation.
More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back in more news. Upon instructions issued by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday, acting IGP CD Vikramaratne has informed all police stations that a license is no longer required for Kitul palm tapping. The move was made by the President following grievances put forth by traditional Kitul palm tappers from the Galle district. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa participated in a public rally organised by Galle district candidate Shan Vijaylal de Silva in Hirewatta, Ambalangoda last evening. The President then attended a public gathering at the Rajgama Public Stadium. Meanwhile, the President also participated in a rally held at the Watugedara Pradeshya Sabha grounds last evening. In the meantime, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa attended another public meeting organised, this time by Galle district candidate Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana in Karapitiya yesterday. The President also joined in another gathering organised by candidate Chandima Veerakodi at the Sirimavu Bandaranayaka Memorial Hall in Howrah, Duwa. Meanwhile, when touring Nellore in Galle yesterday, the President was notified about issues pertaining to the Kitul palm industry.
මිනිස්සුන්ට ආදායම් ගන්න පුළුවන් හොඳම කර්මාන්තයක්. මිනිස්සු මේ කරනවා නම් කිතුල් මැද්දොත් මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට හරින අසාධාරණයක් කරනවා. ඔබතුමා ඒ කියන්නේ අල්ලනවා, එල්ල පොලිසියෙන් අල්ලනවා, නොයෙක් දේවල් කරනවා. දිනපත්කවල ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙන්නේ. අපිට ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ අංගයක් යටතේ අපිට මේ කිතුල් කර්මාන්තය කරගෙන යන්න දෙන්න. පොලිස්පතිතුමාට අපි ගන්නලා තියෙන්නේ පා කියලා අල්ලන්න. ඒවා ඉල්ල දෙන්න කියලා සුරාබදුකන කියන්න ඕනේ.
Accordingly, the President has instructed the police not to take action against Kitul palm tapping, following which the Acting Inspector General of Police informed all police stations that a license for Kitul tapping will no longer be required. The police media spokesperson states that according to Excise Amendment Act No. 4 of 2018, tapping and extraction of Kitul toddy can be carried out without a license. Accordingly, the police spokesperson said a license is not required to extract toddy or for Kitul palm tapping. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa accused the former government of denying the public of the benefits of massive employment opportunities by halting all major development projects initiated during his tenure as president. The Prime Minister made these comments at an event to launch the 15-point manifesto of SLPP Colombo district candidate Premanath C. Dolawatta today.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa attended an election propaganda event organised to launch a 15-point policy statement of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Colombo district candidate Premanath C. Dolawatta today at the Foundation Institute in Colombo.
අපි කරගෙන ආපු සංවර්ධන කටයුතු අතරමඟ නැවැත්තුවා. මේ වරාය නගරය මෙලහට හදලා ඉවර කරලා පළවෙනි පියවර තියන්න තිබිච්ච අවස්ථාව. ඒකට වගේ ගියේ යුත්තේ කවුද? මුල්ගල් ගැලෙව්වා. ඒ වගේ ගිහිලා මූදි දාන්න හැදුවා. ඒ වගේ මුල්ගලෙන්න පලි ගත්තා. සමහරව හැදුවේ ඒවා තමන්ගේ වැඩට පෙන්නන්න. මෙලහට දිනුන නම් බැඳ රැකිය අවස්ථාවන් අපේ රටේ ජනතාවට ලැබෙන්නේ. අද කොළඹ නගරේ නිවාස ප්‍රශ්න මොඩුක්කු නැති කිරීම තමයි අපි ආරම්භ කරේ. ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිවරයා ලේකම්වරයා වශයෙන් සිටින කාලේ ඒ වැඩ පිළිවෙල ආරම්භ කළා. ඊට පස්සේ අතරමඟ නැවතුණා අපි පෙරදුනාට පස්සේ. දැන් නැවත වාරයක් ඒ නිවාස වැඩ පිළිවෙල දීලා කොළඹ නගරය පැල්පත් වලින් තොර නගරයක් බවට පත් කිරීම කළ යුතු තියෙනවා කියනයි විශ්වාසය.
Leader of the United National Party Ranil Wickremesinghe says that all former UNP members who left the UNP and joined the Samagi Jana Balawege should decide whether they truly belong before the election because they cannot be a part of two factions. He added that no matter how many times the Samagi Jana Balawege takes the issue up in any court, the result will always be the same.
Leader of the United National Party Ranil Wickremesinghe took part in an election propaganda event held in Vellavaya today.
දැන් සමහරු කියනවා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ දෙකක් තියෙනවලු. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ ඉඩ දුන්නලු ඒකෙත් සමාජිකත්වය ගන්න. අපි නැහැ කිව්වා. කෙලේකම් මාවත් උසාවියට ඇදගෙන ගියා. දිස්ත්‍රික් උසාවියට ගියා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒක පෙරදුනාම ගියා මහාධිකරණයට සිවිල් අභියාචනායකට. දැන් ඒකෙන් උත් තීන්දුව දීලා තියෙනවා. දැන් කියනවා ඕකෙන් යනවලු ඊළඟ උසාවියට අභියාචනයක් ගන්න. ඒකෙන් පෙරදුනාම ඊළඟ එකට යනවලු මං කිව්වින් කමන්නේ ජාත්‍යන්තර උසාවියටම යන්න. එන ප්‍රතිඵලය එකයි. මේක නම් වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතන ඉඳන් කියන්න බෑ මෙතෙන්ට එනවා කියලා. දැන් මේ අය සිරිකොතට ආවොත් පොලිසියට මං ඒක බාර දෙනවා. ඒ ගැන විභාග කරලා බලලා වැරදි නම් නඩු දාන්න කියලා. පිටින් ඇවිල්ලා අපේ මේ තියෙන ලයිට් බල්බ්ස් ගලවගෙන අපේ දොර අගුළු ගලවගෙන පුටු සෙට් එහෙම අයින් කරනවනම් මොන අතනද පොලිසියට කියන්න වෙන්නේ? පොහොට්ටුවෙන් කියන ඔන්න මං කුඩුකාරයව අල්ලගත්තා කියලා. මෙතනින් කියන්නේ පොඩි. අපි ඇවිල්ලා ගහලා මේ ඔක්කොම අයින් කරලා ගෙනියනවා කියලා. පක්ෂ දෙකේම ඉන්න බෑ. දෙකම කරන්න බෑ මේ තීන්දුවෙන් පස්සේ. රාජ්‍ය සභාව මතන්නක ඒ පැත්තට වැඩ කරොත් එන එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ සමාජිකත්වය දරන්න බෑ. දැන්ට විභාග ගණනාවක් යනවා. හෙට ඉඳන් ඇවිල්ලා වැඩ කරනවා. අපි ඒ ගැන සලකලා බලන්න. නැත්තම් අපිට සිදු වෙනවා ඒ ගැන ක්‍රියා කරන්න. අපේ සමාජිකයන් වෙලා දැන්ට පිට වෙලා ගියා තීරණය කරන්න ඕනේ මේ ඡන්දෙට ඉස්සෙල්ලා. තමන් එතන ඉන්නවද මෙතන ඉන්නවද කියලා.
Samagi Jana Balavege leader Sajith Premadasa challenged Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to a public debate to gauge who knows more about economic policy and solutions to the country's economic problems. Premadasa made this challenge at a campaign event in Teldenia yesterday.
A Samagi Jana Balavege campaign event was held with the participation of party leader Sajith Premadasa, this time in Teldenia yesterday.
ආණ්ඩුව දේශපාලන රංගන ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. වර්තමාන අගමැතිතුමාට දැන් වචන දෙක තුනක් ගලපා ගන්න බැරුව ඉන්නේ. මට කියනවා ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව පිළිබඳව හොඳට දන්නවයි කියලා. මම එතුමාට කියන්න කැමතියි දෙන්නගේම ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව හොඳට දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. මම එතුමාට ආරාධනා කරනවා මේ තෙල්දෙනිය නගරේ මාත් එක්ක එන්න හරියට විවාදයකට. ආර්ථික විද්‍යාව ගැන කොරෝනාව ගැන මොනවද ජනතාවට දෙන්න සහන? ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතන් ඉන්නවා මේ 5000 කෑලි දෙකක් දුන්නාම කොහොම හරි කියලා. මම තමුන්නාසලට කියන්න කැමතියි. රටේ අගමැතිතුමාට විසඳුම් ලබා දෙන්නට හැකියාවක් නැහැ. මේ රටට සිදු වෙලා තිබෙන ආර්ථික විනාශයට එතුමට උත්තර බඳින්නට බෑ. එතුමට බැරි වුණාට අපිට පුළුවන්.
Following comments made by United National Party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe accusing the government of pawning $4.5 billion in US securities to gain a $1 billion credit facility, the central bank today issued an official rejection of the claims. Instead, the central bank said that it has only entered into an agreement with the New York branch of the Federal Reserve in an overnight repurchase facility available for foreign and international monetary authorities used by many central banks in the world to meet their short-term US dollar liquidity requirements.
United National Party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe recently accused the government of pawning a staggering $4.5 billion of US securities to gain a $1 billion credit facility.
ඇමරිකන් ආණ්ඩුවේ සුරැකුම්පත් බැඳුම් කර තමයි ලෝකේ වටිනාම සුරැකුම්පත් බැඳුම් කර. අපිට තියෙන ඒවා ඩොලර් 4500. දැන් කියන අපි ලෑස්ති මේක ඇපේට තියලා අපිට ඩොලර් 1000ක් දෙන්න කියලා. අපිවත් 1000ක් ගන්න 4500ක් ඇපේට දෙන්නේ නැහනේ. අන්න එතෙන්ට ඒ තැනට වැටලා තියෙනවා.
However, the central bank today rejected the allegations, calling them completely false. Instead, the bank says that it has entered into an agreement with the Federal Reserve Bank in New York as a temporary source of US dollar liquidity to be used when required. The statement released on the central bank website says that the CBSL wishes to reiterate that this facility is not extraordinary by any measure and constitutes an independent financial instrument available for use when required by central banks around the world. The facility, in technical jargon, is an overnight repurchase facility available for foreign and international monetary authorities. The statement says that many central banks in the world have resorted to this facility to meet their short-term US dollar liquidity requirements. The facility enables the central bank to secure short-term funding when needed without having to make any sudden structural adjustments to its long-term investment portfolios in foreign exchange.
The Election Commission has urged all public servants to refrain from engaging in political activities during the election period in order to uphold the independence of state officials. In a media release, the election governing body noted that it has received complaints alleging that public officers and some in their capacity as trade union leaders or members have attended receptions and programs organized in the guise of trade union meetings by election candidates. Accordingly, investigations have been launched into complaints, rather alleging that staff officers and non-staff officers, particularly in the fields of education, health, agriculture and Mahavali industry and construction, Samurdhi and social services, provincial councils and local government have attended such events. It added that it had also received complaints that trade unions representing state employees have engaged in election propaganda activities as well. We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Welcome back in your business news. The governments of Sri Lanka and India have held discussions on the rescheduling of debt repayments yesterday, which have been described as cordial and constructive. Representatives of India's Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Finance and the Exim Bank discussed the subject with Sri Lankan External Resources representatives via video conference, with further discussions to be held soon.
A press release by the Indian High Commission in Colombo announced that delegations from the governments of India and Sri Lanka held technical discussions on rescheduling of debt repayments yesterday. The Indian delegation, comprising of senior officials from the Ministry of External Affairs, the Ministry of Finance and the Exim Bank, interacted with representatives from the Department of External Resources of Sri Lanka via video conference. The constructive discussion between both sides took place in a cordial and positive atmosphere, the Indian High Commission says. The release stated that building on the mutual priorities identified during the telephone conversations between the leaders of India and Sri Lanka in May 2020 and the Indian High Commissioner's courtesy call on the President of Sri Lanka, the High Commission of India engaged with the government of Sri Lanka to facilitate the initiation of discussions between the two sides on this matter. The High Commission of India will continue to work towards coordinating and facilitating such engagement as a part of India's overall commitment to work with Sri Lanka to counter and mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The next round of technical discussions between the two sides on rescheduling of debt repayments is expected to be held soon.
Sri Lankan shares rose today as gains in industrial and financial stocks boosted risk sentiment. The benchmark CAC All Share Price Index closed 0.48% higher at 5,065.30, posting a weekly gain of 1.54%. Trading volume on the CAC All Share Price Index inched down to 62.1 million compared with 62.3 million in the last full trading day. Equity market turnover was 871.9 million rupees.
With the continuous recoveries in COVID-19 patients and with the improved investor sentiment, mainly from the retailers, today market closed the week on a positive note. ASPI gained by about 24 points and S&P SL20 gained by 2 points. And the uptrend is mainly driven by the retailers, mainly on the mid-cap counters. Also, we saw during the day turnover levels remain around 872 million mark, less than the yesterday turnover, mainly because higher contribution was from retail participation compared to the institutional investors. Contribution to the turnover was mainly driven by selective mid-cap counters, while capital goods sector took the dominance in the turnover. Parcel trades contributed about 15%. Witnessing a net foreign outflow, week ended the market recording the lowest foreign participation after 1 month.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Good night.